Well, it looks like it's time for another project on the Samurai. So I was looking at this the other day, and I knew there was a bit of rust at the fender flares. And I was looking at it, and this plastic trim piece was on. And I took it off, and lo and behold, this is all terribly rusted underneath. And, you know, I knew there was some rust, but I didn't think it would be that bad. It makes sense why it's there, though. This plastic piece was basically just covering it, and you know, I drive this in the winter. There's definitely probably salt and dirt had been getting under there for a long time. Anyway, that's all toast. So this needs to be fixed. Let's see what's on the other side as well. So this is the rust I knew about on the other side, but let's take this trim off because I'm not going to reuse it anyway. And we'll see what's on this side. Yeah, much of the same. So this will need to be fixed, and the way to fix this is to cut it all out, put some new metal in there, and prevent this from happening again. They do sell patch panels for this rocker panel, and they're pretty cheap, about $75. So that's one option, is to just get a proper patch panel welded in. The other option is to fabricate something as a rock slider. So I was planning on putting rock sliders on here at some point. So it could be, so one option would be to do the patch panel and then fabricate rock sliders in addition. The other option would be to cut all this out, take it down to basically just everything that's not rust, and then use some heavier gauge metal and incorporate rock sliders into the reconstruction of this rocker panel. So those are the two options. I'll think about both of those, and we'll see what the next step is. I've got the fender flare off, so obviously that would go there. There's some rust on the bottom there that will need some repair. And now I'm just assessing here. So clearly this whole thing needs to come off, and it's a question of whether this metal in the back is salvageable. I suspect that it isn't. So let's see. Yeah. So, you know, it's, some places are a little better than others, but it's overall pretty terrible over here. Okay, so all this is going to get cut out. Okay, I've had a bit more time to work on this. And what I've got done right now is the rock slider done on one side. Well, pretty much done. It's all welded in. I still have to prime and paint it and finish the fender flares. But it's 3.5-inch square tubing. And this side I haven't done yet, so we'll go through this side and I'll show you basically what I did on the other side. The materials I'm using for the rock sliders is this square tubing. So this is 3.5-inch, obviously steel tubing. 1/8 would be, I think, the ideal thickness. This is 3/16, which is okay. It's a bit heavier. And the reason I got the 3/16 is because the metal store only had that in stock. If they had the 1/8, I definitely would have gone with 1/8. I think this is heavier and stronger than it needs to be. So I am adding a bit of extra weight that, oh well. I'm going to cut this to shape. I'll cap the ends with this just 1/8 flat stock. So what I'll do is cut that to shape. On the other side, I had a bevel for the front and the back. I'm going to recreate those. And we'll cut out a bit more of that extra sheet metal at the bottom and then fully weld it in place. Okay, so now it's fully welded. I used the MIG welder, so the welds aren't super pretty, but they will be strong, and it's welded all the way front and back, so that should be good. The next step will be primer and coating. This Samurai is a 1992 version, which is apparently one of the few that came with metal fender flares. So two of them, actually it was the two that were on the rear, are fine. There's some really minor surface rust here, but overall not too bad. So these ones I'll just give them an epoxy prime. Well, I'll give it a scuff and a prime, and these should be totally fine. In order to get them out, I did have to cut these bolts. So I'm going to redo those, probably with nut certs, but I'll get that better with some stainless hardware and make it so they don't just seize with rust like they did before. So the two rears will be pretty straightforward. The two fronts is where there's the rust issue. And both of them had it on kind of the trailing edge, where I guess salt basically got packed in there, and that's where that rust came from. So what I'm going to do is basically cut them off. I got a bunch of sheet metal, so I'll just bend something up to match, and hopefully that'll work. When it comes to sheet metal, I'm certainly no Ron Covell. And but basically I'm just going to kind of hack this together. So this is the Fender flare. This is the rusty piece I cut out. And basically I'm just using, just straight sheet metal. This is the basic shape, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time to make it totally perfect. There's a couple compound curves in here which make it a bit tricky. I'm going to get it close, and then the welder and the grinder will take care of the rest of it. So I'm basically going to just kind of fudge it a bit. But anyway, this will be I'll tweak some of the curves a little bit, but basically that's going to go in there. This patch was actually easier and quicker to make than I thought it would be. Now that's basically how it's going to go. So that fender is just mocked up right now. And I'll put a little bit of body filler in it. It doesn't have to be really too much. With the mount, it'll bring it in a little bit more about there. But that should work fine. I might put just a little lip at the bottom there just for some strength, but I'm going to leave it mostly open so that salt can, salt and dirt will drain out of there so I don't get the same problem with rust. So basically, this one was even faster and probably even fits a bit better. So that's pretty good there. I'll do some light body work and get these primed and painted. So these fender flares were attached by a number of these screws that were all terribly rusty. And if I remember correctly, it was a Phillips head. So frozen solid with rust with a Phillips head, there's no way those were coming off. So basically I just ground the end off. I had to do it on every one of these screws for all the fenders. I think maybe one of them came out. So anyway, I took them all off. That's how I got the fenders off. There is one opposite screw which is kind of a stud, and it fits into the top here. So this will be the locating stud. That one actually did come off because it had a proper nut on it. So that will be the locating, well, that will locate the fender flare back where it goes. So that's the spot there. There is a rubber gasket that fits in the top there. I'll be putting that back in. But obviously I'm not going to use those old rusted screws again. So the plan is to use some threaded nut certs or riv nuts, or these are just the generic ones. So basically I'll be using 1/4 inch stainless nut certs and some stainless hardware, and that will be how they mount. If I ever have to take them off again, that'll be a lot easier than dealing with the rust. Alright guys, so the fabrication is all done. This is the other one, so it's got its basic body work. It's pretty smooth. The paint is all scuffed. It's ready for primer. As you can see, the other front is done. The rock sliders are done. So next step will be primer, and I was hoping to get to the primer today, but it's a pretty nice day out there, so I think I'm going to go flying instead. So primer will have to wait. It's going to be an epoxy primer, and then I'm still not sure what to put over top. And I was thinking about it. I don't think I'm going to do these in a really smooth finish. I could spend the time and get it, super smooth. But the thing I like best about the Samurai is that I don't worry about it getting scratched. If I'm out in the bush, I don't worry about scraping against branches. So I don't want anything too nice. Something, it has to be extra durable, and I definitely don't want to worry about scratches. So probably like a 2-part catalyzed bed liner, maybe an undercoating, something like that. I'll go to the body shop supply and see what they have. If you guys have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. But anyway, that'll be it for today. Next video on the Samurai will be getting the primer and whatever coating on it. Thanks for watching.